Obviously, when I was playing, the rules were completely different. It was a different beast. As a keeper and a keeper coach, I think bringing the goalkeeper into focus is great. The rivalry, which is still there, it's still there. It was just such a great day, and you just wanted to turn the Guernsey lads over. There's a certain mindset a keeper has. We all know, they're supposed to be mad and they're supposed to be this, that, and the other. No, they're not. They just know that they are. That's the position they want to play in. They're confident in what they want to do. But if you can enhance that and bring it out a bit more, then you're doing your job. And that was the first time I actually saw probably you. And actually, I think he was a year 7 or a year 8 the first time I saw him there. And there was some of the keepers that came through there. It's a shame because there's a couple that sort of were great keepers and sort of found other things to do. I was so fortunate because I didn't think I'd get an opportunity to do this, because this is the closest thing to a proper semi-pro setup.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by goalkeeping coach and ex-goalkeeper Richard Hebert. How are you doing, Rich?
I'm good, mate. How you doing, Dan?
Good. Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not bad. As always, I start with the kind of question: have you always been kind of sporty since you were younger?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I'm of an age when sport was everything because there wasn't a lot else going on, and I also lived really close to the FB fields. In fact, my bedroom overlooked the small pavilion, so I was on there day and night, weekends, whenever we could. So sport was huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah. When obviously goalkeeping is a big part of why we're here today. When did that start for you? Were you a goalkeeper right from the start?
No, I started off as a right-sided defender, either a right back or a right half, as they were called, or right centre back, as it is now. But I got involved with goalkeeping by just ending up in there and realising that I didn't mind jumping about and diving on tarmac and hard ground and whatever. So I just ended up by default. My mother wasn't very pleased because I'd come home with ripped trousers and muddy trousers from, as I say, jumping about. But it just seemed to be comfortable for me, and it went from there. Probably about 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, for sure. And how much did you enjoy the task of a goalkeeper? Obviously, there's always a debate of what's the hardest position in football. And for me, I think goalkeeper is one of the most pressurized and probably scrutinized positions. How much did you enjoy that?
It's not the easiest. Obviously, when I was playing, the rules were completely different. It was a different beast. As you just said, it's a pressurized position now because there's so many other things that a goalkeeper has to do that back in my day I didn't. So it's not the easiest, but every position on the pitch has its pressures. But unfortunately, the goalkeeping one is always spotlighted, and it's the one that you are the one. But if you weren't a goalkeeper and you didn't appreciate that, you wouldn't be one. So yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm biased. I'd say yes, it probably is the hardest position on the pitch.
Yeah. You touched on it then. It was a completely different game back when you played. Just describe what it was like and how local football was like back then as well.
Local football back when I was first starting, I started as a junior at St Paul's. There were 2 junior leagues. You played you played at 16 to 18. Some of the teams actually had 2 teams, an A and a B. It was very, very you'd be playing school football on a Saturday morning. You'd be playing for your league in the afternoon. Then you play Sunday league football, junior football on Sunday morning. But there was also a full Sunday league with 4 full divisions. So football back then was huge. It was, it was it. So it was obviously equipment was different. The pitches were different. The pitches were great for 3 weeks of the season. The first 3 weeks, then they became complete bogs, and then by the end of the season, they were dust bogs. But it was the same for everybody, and it was good. It was good. The game was different. I think it was probably a little less technical than it is now. There's far more direct play back then. So the equipment was different because you were trying to kick around a sogging wet mitre multiplex around a pitch, which you couldn't half the time. If there was a breeze against you, it would just come straight back to you. That's still the same today, but it was difficult to deal with. But yeah, great days. Enjoyed that. Always enjoyed it. With the rule changes, I mean, I was still playing when the back pass rule came in. I think it's about 30 years ago now. I think 92. I think it came in. At first, it was very strange. It was still the keeper got it back and he just lumped it forward, or there was no playing it back to your centre backs. That sort of evolved as to where it is now. Where your goalkeeper is a 5th outfield player at the back, or 4th, whichever way you're playing. So it was different and it was challenging, but I wouldn't say things are they are better now, but it was a little easier as well. Some of the rules were a little more black and white, should we say?
How much has it been? How do I say it? How much have you enjoyed seeing the game kind of change over the years? And obviously, it's going to change a lot over the years to come as well. But how much have you enjoyed the change?
I think as a keeper and a keeper coach, I think bringing the goalkeeper into focus more is great. It's good. It's the needs of a goalkeeper have obviously changed, and the type of person you need to be in goal, I don't think ever changes. However, the skills and the ability and the mental side of it has really sort of, I think, come into its own. And yeah, it'll progress. Things don't stay the same. Things will move on. And I'd be interested to see what happens next. I mean, with equipment again, everyone's talking about the balls. The balls move faster, and they do. But on the other side of that, kicking a football now and distribution is a lot easier because the balls are lighter and they can travel further, and you can get more out of it. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely. I want to touch on your playing days, and you had trials as well. How good was that opportunity for you, and how much did you learn from that opportunity?
It was. I went to Derby for a sort of 10-day trial period. It was different. In those days, it was still, the goalkeeping coach hadn't really been developed, so you were thrown in with the outfield players. You'd go out and do a bit of handling and a bit of diving about. That's all it was really, and then you'd go into just game situations. And then at the end, the obligatory shooting practice where, they would be belting balls at you. I was quite lucky to go to Derby at a time when they were in the 3rd division then. But they had an amazing facility. It was called the Ram Arena. And it was a purpose-built training facility. But the players that were there at the time were sort of ex-Forest players, so they played under Brian Clough. Peter Taylor was actually the general manager then. Roy McFarlane was the manager, but Archie Gemmell, Dave Watson, John Robertson, there was Ron Futcher, and the goalkeepers went in and played five-a-side, and I was playing five-a-side with these guys who were sort of, you know, legends. So that was a great experience. From a goalkeeping side, it was just basically in you go, do your stuff.
Yeah.
And you were just left to get on with it. I think the goalkeeper there was a guy called Steve Cherry, who was really good and passed on some fantastic tips to me. I still remember him to the day. So yeah, it was a great experience. It didn't come to anything, which was fine. But it was always something that I'm glad I got the opportunity to do.
Yeah, yeah. And going on from jumping a few years into now, obviously players have the opportunity to go to trials, and Pierce has been away for a week, for example.
Yep.
How much do you use your experience and to guide them through those or help them in those experiences?
It's a different environment. The keepers I've got, obviously, with at the moment, Ewan and Pierce, they're both confident lads, and their technical ability is, you know, they have their top draw. However, when you go to the UK, obviously Jersey, there's the two of them and possibly a couple of others, but in the UK, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of keepers. I was lucky enough to coach at a summer school for 3 summers with Mick Payne, and the caliber of the goalkeepers you got there was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Some of the guys you're looking thinking, how come you're not with a club? And it was pure competition. You know, they were good enough technically, but one, circumstances and just luck, they hadn't been picked up. But it was just the sheer volume of competition that was holding these guys back. Now, when you come from a little rock like Jersey, it probably compounds the issue. But you know, it's a great experience, and who knows? I remember it back in the day. Trevor Wood was a goalkeeper who was slightly younger than me. He got picked up and went away and had a pretty decent career, including getting an international cap. So it's possible. But I always say, if anyone's going away, just be yourself. But you know, be yourself at all times and just enjoy the experience. Because if you enjoy it, you're relaxed and you tend to show your positive side. And you know, fingers crossed, we can get a keeper over to the UK. And because obviously at the moment we're having some bit of a purple patch with outfield players.
Yeah.
So it would be good to get a keeper over into a professional setup.
Yeah, definitely. Back to you, and obviously played in junior Marathis, senior Marathis. How good an experience was that for you, and how big were the Marathis back then? And was it as big then as it is now?
Huge. It was a day out. It was massive. Springfield was always filled. Obviously, the old Springfield. It was always the rivalry, which is still there. It's still there. It was just such a great day, and you just wanted to, you know, you wanted to turn the Guernsey lads over. You know, as a supporter, you know, you went there. I saw some great games, some really superb games, close games, some characters playing. You know, the year when Peter Fleury scored, I think it was his hat trick to win a game, and then you saw when Peter Vincenti and Blondell got into a scrap in the back of the net, that sort of thing. It was, yeah, it was everything to the guys playing. And then when you finally got involved in the squads, you just loved it. You loved the day. Was superb. It still is. I mean, last Saturday, you were there, so you know what a day that was. There's nothing better, you know. And I always find it a privilege to be, you know, to put the badge on, to put the Jersey badge on, and represent the island. There's nothing better. And to win in Guernsey, icing on the cake. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. It was an excellent day. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah. Let's talk about moving into coaching, and how did that start for you? Was that an easy transition maybe from when you stopped playing to going into coaching?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened there. I mean, basically, I was with the Wanderers coming to the end, and I was helped out by a couple of guys who came down. Peter Crennan and Craig Pittman would put little sessions on for me, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, yeah, I'd like to do this after I finished. And that's how it began. Actually, somebody else was giving me guidance, and even at the late stage in my career, I was in my late 20s, early 30s then. But it was sort of one of those where, yeah, I can still learn, I can still pick things up, and I'd like to pass on what I can. Then afterwards, I decided, well, I'd better do my qualies. So I did a level 1 goalkeeping. Then I did level 2, which I did with the Middlesex FA, and then went over and did a B course at Lillyshaw. That was a superb experience. The coaches there was like Eric Steele, Martin Thomas, Tony Parks, Simon Smith, all professional. They've had superb careers, and it was just a brilliant experience. And then came back and sort of hopefully passing on knowledge and keeping the guys ticking over.
Yeah. Was it easy at first? Did you naturally were you naturally good at coaching from the start, or did it take time?
It takes time. It's one of those things where it's because when you're coaching, you're still learning. So at the very beginning, the fundamentals of the goalkeeper are the same. You will be coached the same things, from your handling to your step positions, your sliding positions. It'll be the same things over and over again. But it's how you make sure that, your keepers are comfortable with what they do. You don't try and force them to be, to do things they don't feel comfortable in the playing role. And then once every goalkeeper is different. They're all different. There's a certain mindset a keeper has. We all know, they're supposed to be mad and they're supposed to be this, that, and the other. No, they're not. They just know that they are. That's the position they want to play in. They're confident in what they want to do. But if you can enhance that and bring it out a bit more, then you're doing your job. It's as simple as that. So over the years, I've sort of picked up so much experience from on island, off island, watching the pro game, watching the semi-pro game. It's one of those things. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And you try and pick up ideas. I mean, the resource out there for goalkeeping coaches is absolutely massive now. I mean, social media and the platforms out there for picking things up. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff out there that I think, well, that's a bit wacky. That's a bit out there. I wouldn't. But if you stick to the FAs and the FAs and the well-known coaching, the coaching organisations and pro clubs, you can't go wrong. There's plenty of stuff out there.
Yeah, for sure. You've obviously, we'll move on to Bulls in a minute, but you've also worked at Jersey Performance Centre. It used to be Centre of Excellence. How much do you enjoy developing the younger goalkeepers?
That was 3-4 seasons I did. That was great. That was brilliant. I mean, it was a super centre, and I think as time has gone on, the players that have come out of the centre, I mean, it's just showing what an absolute fantastic setup it is. With the goalkeepers, I think it was one of the first times where there was an actual dedicated program for keepers, and it worked really well for me. You put your program on for the whole season, starting with the basics, but it was so well organised that you knew that what you were. A lot of time it was themed. So you knew that what you'd worked on would go into a game situation, and you'd like to think that it was that the guys would actually fit straight into that particular situation. And that was the first time I actually saw probably you. And actually, I think he was a year 7 or a year 8 first time I saw him there. And there was some of the keepers that came through there. It's a shame because there's a couple that sort of were great keepers and sort of found other things to do. I was like Jordan McGeady was a great keeper. Curtis Hino was a great keeper, great young keeper. But as things progressed, they it's not for them. That's fine. But I worked with some really good lads, and some of the coaches there, top notch, absolutely top notch.
Yeah. I want to touch on as well. I've been speaking to people in Guernsey and how there's a shortage of goalkeeper coaches. How lucky are we here in Jersey that we've got, for example, Colin Pack, we've got Gary Lloyd, got yourself, got Jonathan Lafonge. How good is it to have this many keeper coaches?
It's vital, and from what I see, because obviously I'm at the very end now, at sort of senior level. When you see the coaches, the lads coming through, that they've had good quality coaching, and they come in and all the fundamentals are there. And you've got lads like like Lloydie, who's going to, his career's gone on forever, and so he's going to start passing that on. Nothing but good things can come of that. So yeah, I know that by the time they get to the senior level, that they are in good shape, and it's gone from sort of not a lot to a good standard, a good quality of coach. And I'm seeing it if I'm with the Bulls or whatever on a Saturday or a Thursday, the lads that are either on, like I think the junior lads training on a Saturday morning, you can see there's a goalkeeper coach and he's passing on some great tips and he's doing it properly. And then on a Thursday night after our game, somebody comes on, you see the goalkeepers again getting decent tactical, decent coaching. So it's good. It's overdue, but I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, definitely.
We're in a good place.
Let's move on to Bulls now. When did that opportunity come about, and how much are you enjoying the experience of being a part of it?
I've got to say I was so fortunate because I didn't think I'd get an opportunity to do this, because this is the closest thing to a proper semi-pro setup. It is something I didn't think I'd get. I mean, it was Jason Carpenter who asked me to go in to assist at first. And Jason, I've got so much time for Jason. He's a great coach. He left a fantastic little legacy there with what he'd already done. And he still does with the kids. He's bringing through some good goalkeepers as well. So that's how I got involved, and that was 2 years ago now. The actual experience is sometimes it can be quite brutal because it's a long season, but it is really enjoyable. I think as a team, we're not where we should be. I think as a squad, pound for pound, we are footballing. We keep getting complimented about the standard of football we're playing, but there's just that extra thing we need to add to our armoury to get out of that league. It is an absolute. It's a tough league because I think the teams at the top want to get out. The teams at the bottom don't want to go down.
Yeah.
So there's always this. They fight tooth and nail to make sure they're staying in that league because they don't want to go to step 6, and if they can get out to go to step 4, fantastic. So hopefully this season is the season that we get it done. I think if the playoff situation last year was a bit strange in that it only went to the second team, not the third and fourth. Yeah. I think we'd have done very well in any playoffs we'd have got to, but I think we're good enough to actually win that league. We've got some great players, some great lads, and I know the coaching staff and the management staff. who work extremely hard. You know, it is a tough ask. Hopefully, we can do it this year.
Yeah. And I want to touch on the commitment that you got to have to be a part of it, to be going away probably more or less every week on a Tuesday and early in the morning, coming back early in the morning. How people probably forget about that side of things, and for the players and the coaches, how hard is it become a routine now?
To a certain extent, yeah, I think there is a bit of routine to it. But first half of the season, there's an appetite for it. Second half of the season, when you know the games are piling up, I don't know if it's been through weather or fixture congestion. When you start, you know, you start getting to have to go twice a week. You know, I enjoy the trips. I do enjoy the trips, the ones I go on. I do. But logistically, getting that organised is a task in itself. But the lads look after themselves very well. You know, there's a certain amount of routine involved in it. And there's obviously the guys with Kev and Dan and Gary, you know, tactically get them sorted out. And you know, training Thursdays, strength and conditioning Tuesdays. There's, again, it's routine. Keep saying that word routine, but it is. Just hopefully this year, as I say, we can turn that routine into a positive outcome.
Yeah, definitely. Want to touch on you, and obviously he's been number one for many years now for Jersey, for Bulls. You said you first saw him many years ago. How much have you enjoyed his development? How much have you enjoyed working with him the last 3 seasons?
Ewan's always been a very confident guy, and I wouldn't change anything about any of my keepers. Pierce is very confident. Ewan is very confident, and that's what you need to be in that position. I'm so lucky that I've got 2 keepers now who are vying for that spot. I'm not going to discount Robbie Scott either. Robbie's a decent keeper, very good keeper. They're all built like goalkeepers now. They've all got great attributes. Their distribution's good. They train brilliantly. So I'm very lucky. What I think some people forget is Ewan's mid-20s. So what he's done in the last 10 years, he could do again. However, I think, you know, competition is good. And I think we've now got that with Pierce and Robbie. So, you know, he's always maintained a good level of training. It can get a little bit, you know, we've got so many games a season, and you know, I think you know, nobody is perfect. Nobody goes out to make mistakes. Whoever you are, whatever position you play in, and you know, we work hard to make sure we maintain a standard. Again, it's a different game now. You know, keepers are touching the ball 50, 60 times a game. A lot of it's recycling back passes and starting again. But then you've also got to add to that they've got responsibility of set pieces and communication, ensuring, you know, everything. It is an all-round game that you need now. And again, I'm lucky because all 3 of them have got that. Yeah. So, you know, Ewan has been around for a long time, and you know, he will still be around for a long time to come.
Yeah.
How competition's
close,
good.
Yeah. How close is that competition now? How close is, say, Pierce to getting that number 1 shirt?
It's tracing paper.
Yeah.
You know, they've both got very similar attributes, and they've also got different attributes. But you know, it's going to be interesting to see this season where we are.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're gearing up for the Island Games, so I'll be working with them now for the next 6 weeks. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a great experience, and again, I'm grateful and thankful for being involved. It is always a pleasure to, as I say, anything for Jersey. and we'll see over the next 6 weeks what develops.
Yeah, definitely. Last two questions. Firstly, how we kind of touched on it there was how young these goalkeepers are right now, but how bright is the future for Jersey goalkeepers and the position itself?
I think, as we touched on before, with the coaching they're getting, club level, island level, I think we've always produced good goalkeepers. I mean, I can go back when I was very young. The Barry Brewery, Dave Matthews. Then after that, you had Stevie Keane and Martin LeBlanc. Then Stevie Collion, Jason, and then later on, Jimmy Stiles, Andy Bird, Craig Fletcher, and up to now, you've got the guys we've got now. So we've always been good at producing goalkeepers. So I think that legacy is still there. And I think looking at what we've got at under 18 level, under 16 level, it's looking good. It's looking good.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's always one that comes out of left field that you're not expecting. So I'm looking forward to seeing, if I'm still around doing it, that we see again somebody who comes out that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, for sure. And that was going to be my next question. What next for you? How long do you want to keep on doing this, and how much are you loving it still?
I've always loved it. I've always, it's putting a pair of gloves on, like putting a second skin for me. Something, what I do enjoy is when I've done a session and I know it's gone well, they've enjoyed it, I've enjoyed it. There's no better feeling. And then if you see during a game something that we've worked on, or something has been something that you think, actually, could we do that better? Could we do it, slightly differently? And it comes to fruition, you think, yeah, great. So I still thoroughly enjoy it. Game days are great. Training, thoroughly enjoy it. I'm looking forward to Tuesday when we start again. How long can I go on for? The legs are starting to go a little bit. My distribution and my service isn't quite as strong as it was, but that's something it's going to happen. So we'll see. Yeah. I'm so fortunate that I've had these late opportunities. I couldn't have wished for more, to be fair. Yeah, it's all been good.
Definitely. And final question, putting you on the spot here. What's your top tip for any up and coming keeper? What would your advice be?
What my advice be to an up and coming keeper? Be confident in what you do. Be willing to learn, listen, and watch. I'm going to say this. Watch your favourite keepers. There's plenty of resource out there to look at you. If you're at a club, approach your coaches to say you want to be a keeper. How do I go about it? But most of all, just be confident and comfortable in what you do. The techniques and that, if you've got it, it'll come. And it can be enhanced and coached. But, but most of all, just enjoy being the most important person on the pitch.
Yeah. Brilliant, Rich. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for your time and your words.
No problem. Enjoyed it, mate. Enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rich. Thanks for watching and listening. Another episode of Sportscast Jersey is coming soon.